Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Perda. I'm a life and marriage coach for moms, wife, mom of 3, and I'm also an Aries, and for my fellow human design nerds, a sacral manifesting generator. This podcast is for women who want to be happier in their marriage as they navigate their journey through motherhood, even if you're like me and you weren't shown how while growing up. Inside, we're going to be talking about breaking generational cycles when it comes to how to handle conflict in healthy ways, redefining motherhood your way, and prioritizing your well-being, because here, we believe that women don't have to sacrifice their happiness to be a great mom. And a quick note to mamas listening with kids around, you may want to pop your earbuds in because nothing is left unsaid on this show, which means there may be times where something I say isn't meant for little ears. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. This week, we're going to be having a guest. She is someone I actually recently met who I have just fallen in love with because she's so amazing. She supports moms just like me, so automatically she is awesome. But I have Lena here, Lena Suarez-Angelino, and she is the owner of a private practice providing psychotherapy and mental health counseling to the residents of New Jersey and Florida. She's the founder of Light Collective and Company and a community dedicated to helping you prioritize yourself guilt-free. As an intuitive empowerment coach, Lena offers live and self-paced programs to help you overcome overwhelm, banish burnout, and cultivate confidence. Also, she's bilingual. She offers services in English and Spanish. How awesome is that? And, by the way, I'm sure she'll mention it later, but she didn't put it in her bio. She just came out with an anger management book, like a workbook, and it looks pretty freaking legit. So I'm excited to hear more about that. But without further ado, oh, there it is. She just showed the book on the video. I'm so excited to have you as a guest, Lena, finally, and have you share with us more about how moms can help themselves with the burnout, because it is so prevalent in motherhood, in womanhood in general. And I just can't wait to learn some more tips from you. I'm sure you've got stuff that I've never heard of. So I'm really excited to learn for myself and my clients. Thank you so much for being here.
No, it's truly an honor. So thank you. And I'm so excited that we finally were able to get this on a schedule between both of our schedules. And it really, truly is a privilege. So thank you. Yeah. It sounds like, a mouthful of things that I do and, the things that I can offer, and they're all true, right? There's lots of different facets to the things that I do. And that's really what Light Collective itself, kind of encompasses. It's connecting not only the overarching importance of mental health, but then why do we need to take care of ourselves, and, how do we move past that guilt of taking care of ourselves so that we can manage that burnout, right? Or prevent that burnout from happening. And so I'm not trying to eliminate and banish stress. That's almost impossible. Impossible. You're planning a party and you're stressed, right? Even if you're happy about it. So it's not that, but it's learning to keep it in the stress zone versus letting it pour over and really exacerbate into that burnout field, where then, you start to feel resentful. You start to feel, again, just that overwhelm, and just you don't enjoy life anymore. Your quality of life completely diminishes. And then the quality of life around you diminishes.
Totally. Yeah, it all starts with you.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get into more about that, can you share with us, well, you already shared where you live, I believe. Well, no, actually, I just said who you help. So yeah, can you share with us where you live, how old your kids are, and what you do, and who you help?
Yes, I am currently a resident of New Jersey, hoping that in, years to come, I can say that we at least live in the Caribbean half of the year. But, but yes, for now, we're living in New Jersey. I have a 15-year-old who I'm a bonus mom to. She's awesome. She's our competitive cheerleader. And I have a toddler who's 4, and he's super awesome. He has a little bit of special needs, so really navigating also just the differences that he has to overcome, and just kind of being there and really being present for him has been really, really important. As far as who I help, I can help anybody who speaks English and Spanish. So that really helps broaden up accessibility, which is something that's really, really important to me. And really just anybody who's struggling, particularly I tend to help moms the most, but anyone who's really struggling with just taking care of themselves, right? Really having that accountability of putting themselves first in working with the mental health field as a social worker or as a therapist. I've worked, with people with schizophrenia, with bipolar disorder. So I've seen people really in their darkest moments. And as a coach, I'm really able to support every aspect of your life, every journey, to where it's still, again, what you were saying before, it comes down to you. And that's part of where the book came from. That's part of where everything came from. And also being able to offer it to corporations that want to incorporate wellness and improve and help prevent burnout for their team too.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that needs to be more of a universal offering for everybody, especially with this hustle culture, right?
Yes.
Oh man. So what led you to specialize in all of this?
My own experience, honestly. I was working in community mental health, again, in a partial care setting. So in working in a group program. So I didn't have opportunity as a brand new baby therapist. I was still an intern at the time. There was never really opportunity to turn off, right? So you were just going for 8 to 9 hours straight, holding space, and that space never got to close. Even during lunch, even when your car was still in the parking lot and you're driving off, people are still waving and you still have to be present, and not that I'm wanting to be angry with anybody or, but there's just a guard that you have to keep when you're in your professional setting. And so that really took a toll. And so when you would ask for support, when you would ask for help, I would always get told, oh, you're too young to be burnt out, or you're too young to be tired. And so, that's a big part of where that wellness piece comes in for corporations, because your staff are coming to you and asking for support. And while, again, as that new clinician, it's like, you are my superiors, you are the people, but they're burnt out themselves, but they're just quote unquote so used to the system that they've learned to just kind of sweep it under the rug. And so I'm really trying to disrupt that. I'm really trying to get people to do that. And on that home level, right, as a parent, as a mother, where we become that ecosystem, right? And so when that ecosystem isn't functioning, isn't, running smoothly, things start to fail. Things start to really, and we might be the ones that fail first, or we're the ones that fail last, but at the same time, we want to enjoy our family. We work so hard. We do so much because of our family. And so how do we balance all of that? So that's kind of that professional and personal life experience that really opened my eyes to why this is so important.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, while you were sharing all that, I just wrote on a post-it that I need to have you come back and talk about how to support your marriage when you are a mom to a special needs kid, right? So I think that's going to be something super supportive of our listeners here, because as our, ability to identify the different things that kids are struggling with sensory wise and whatnot, I think it's going to be really great to have tips from you, someone who works in that field even to this day, to help us cope, right? I don't know exactly what my younger son has, but he definitely has some sort of sensory challenges going on, and we could see the anxiety build up in him. And so selfishly, I would love to invite you back before we're even done with this, if you're okay with that.
Selfishly, I accept.
I love it. I love it. All right. So speaking of this book, what is it called? For those who weren't able to see it on video, but what is this book called, and when, or is it available now, and where can they get it?
It is available now. It's an anger management workbook for moms, practical exercises to manage your emotions and find calm. So, and it's available on Amazon. It's available on paperback and Kindle. And I love it. It's, yes, okay, that's biased, right? Like I hear
I hope so.
the eye rolls. Everybody listening, but I truly do feel, as much as it's geared and tailored towards moms, anybody can benefit from it. So maybe you pick it up and you kind of want to like leave a page open, you know, for hubby to read in the bathroom or something. Like it really can be beneficial to anybody who just really struggles with too many emotions, right? And not knowing where to put them. And so each of the chapters, there's 8 chapters in the book. And most of them have, you know, at least 8 exercises, or, you know, at least 5 to 8 exercises, or prompts to think about, or, you know, just reflections to answer, to really kind of get you to dig deeper of like, what is the anger telling me? And, you know, what are some of those practical little bite-sized things that I can do to help manage those emotions? And again, so as much as it's anger, some of you might not know this, but anger is often a secondary emotion, right? It's usually, there's usually something happening underneath, whether it's not feeling heard, not feeling validated, not feeling appreciated, whatever it is, that anger shows up to make sure you get heard,
Yes.
to make sure that you feel validated, to
It's
make
our
sure. So it's
protector.
almost like it is our protector. Exactly. So I love it. It was super fun to write. It was, you know, I'm not going to say it was easy, right? It definitely challenged, you know, my creative side and even just organizational side, and relied heavily on, you know, support from my family and my partner. And that's a big part of what I talk about. I think even just a little bit in the book, but also when I talk about managing burnout, it's your support system, right? One of the aspects to that is your support system.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. And I actually need to go grab that book. I'm sure that I could learn a thing or two, or even just share approaches with clients, or maybe even gift it to them. So I'm so glad you wrote that. But what inspired you to write this book?
So I'm sure you talk about human design on your podcast periodically, but it was actually an email. I received an email from a publishing company, and they found my website. They found lightcollectiveandco.com, and they saw an article that I had written actually for anger management for teens. And they had said, would you be interested in writing a book for moms? And so I looked over the outline that they had approached me with. I happily and eagerly accepted. And there we are. There we have a book. And so they found that there was a need in the industry for it. And they found me through social media, through my website. And, you know, they thought that I would be a good fit for it. And here we are. So sometimes it's up to the universal magic of what comes to us.
I love that so much. And what a testament to the work that you've been doing, that you are sought out to write a book. I mean, that is so incredible.
Yeah. And
So why do you think...
Another wild caveat to that too, I don't think I always realize how powerful I am spiritually and intuitively. And so I was holding a book from the same publishing company and saying like, I will have a book one day, right? Like, and this was a couple, maybe 2 years ago, right? And put it back on my shelf. Like I didn't even take note of what the actual name of the publishing company was, but I was like, I'll contact these companies one day, right? Like it was one of those things. And then here we are, right? About 2 years later, having my own published book. It feels like such an accomplishment.
It is so much to be proud of. I'm super proud of you, and I'm so excited to be like, I know someone that wrote a book. So why do you think managing anger as a parent or mom is so important?
I think it really boils down to, it keeps you healthy overall. It keeps you healthy physically. It keeps you healthy mentally, because when we're in a stressful environment, so no matter who it's triggered by, it increases our cortisol, and it just contributes to so much of like from a health perspective, from, it raises your blood pressure, weight gain. And so being able to find that calm despite what's going on around you can just keep everything at bay. It also helps, if you're raised by parents that didn't know how to manage their stress, you can recall your childhood as being stressful, right? It's such a cyclical experience. It's such a, oh, well, mommy and daddy always yelled, or they always fought, and so that's all I know to then fight and argue with my partner. And so, or you feel super guilty, normalizing it, right? Normalizing those experiences. And so if you're the one who's creating calm down corners, and you're the one who's modeling taking those deep breaths, it really will show and model to your children how you can handle stressful situations. You're driving on the side on the road, and you get a flat. What are you going to do? Are you going to sit there and freak out and yell, or are you going to calmly pull over to the side of the road to safety and take the next steps, whether it's calling, whether it's assessing, what's going on with your vehicle? But you're going to be able to manage those emotions so that you can address the situation.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, no surprise for those who've been listening for a while, like I had to learn emotional intelligence on my own because of my observation of like, how come everybody keeps reacting to me like that when I thought I was like fine, right? Like everybody gets angry. Sometimes I lose it. Totally normal, right? Like that's what I saw. And then I was like, how come nobody else does that? Like it wasn't until I want to say college years where I was like, how come none of my friends do what I do? How come they seem so much calmer? And then it became what's wrong with me, right? Which is not great either, but it led me to here. So I'm grateful, but I definitely wish that this was taught to us at school, right? As well as communication, which is exactly why I do what I do now, because for people who are like me and did not have examples or lessons on how to understand yourself and how to really hold yourself accountable for what you're feeling and be able to show up to conflict with more resilience and clarity and communicate clearly. Like, this is why I do what I do. And I'm so glad that you are out there supporting moms with your book, with what you're doing, because this is essential for how we experience life. Like, we thought life was fine, but like, when I tell you that as soon as you understand yourself better and you feel like you are more resilient and confident in how you're conducting yourself in life, in all your relationships, life gets so much better.
It becomes more full. It becomes easier. There's just so much more flow. It's everything.
Yeah.
I agree.
And when we learn more about ourselves, we get to have deeper relationships with everyone around us, right? We get to then teach other people, like you were saying, you're modeling to your kids, you're modeling to, maybe it's your husband who's like a little bit, quote unquote, behind on the journey of understanding themselves and whatnot. But it literally benefits the entire world for everybody to be self-aware. So thank you for putting another resource out there. I think it's amazing. What do you think is the first step to parents managing their anger? Can you share some tips so that people know, like, A, do I actually have something that I need to work on? And what's the first step to make it a little less intimidating? Because it is kind of something to that society has kind of labeled as like shameful, like, oh, what's wrong with her? She's losing her shit. It's like, no, she probably is overwhelmed and doesn't know how to support herself.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
can you share with us a little bit about that?
The first thing that always comes to mind as a first step for somebody is creating awareness, right? Mm-hmm. Creating awareness to be able to take a step back, similar to your story in college of you had almost that moment of like, no one else responds the way I respond, right? And yes, it's then finding a support system and not to try and not go down that guilt spiral or that shame spiral of like, oh, well, there's something wrong with me. And so it's acknowledging there's a duality behind acknowledging that there is something that can be improved, right? And something that you can learn skills to do, and going out to finding those resources rather than berating yourself, rather than beating yourself up because you weren't taught that how to cope in the first place. So it's that awareness and self-compassion that is going to be your foundation for that first step to take.
Yeah, definitely. So I just want to reiterate what she said because it's really, really important. If you are someone who loses it all the time, this is not your fault. Okay? This is not your fault. You probably did not learn any other way to be. So you're just repeating what the past generations have showed you. You're probably better than them, which is something to celebrate. And if you want to, skip over and really like set your future generations and yourself up for success, up for more fulfillment, up for just more self-love and pride in who you are showing up as, instead of constantly wondering like, how much am I messing up my child right now? First of all, we all mess up our kids, no matter how great or, how adamant we are about growing ourselves, right? We all mess up somehow. But if this is you, like, have compassion for yourself. You're doing your best. And there are resources out there. So like get in touch with Lena, right? Go get her book.
I'm here. I'm available.
Yeah, exactly. There are so many resources out there to support you. So do yourself a solid. Go get the help that you need because you deserve a life with way more joy than you're experiencing. And you deserve to feel good about how you respond to high stress situations. Mm-hmm. Yeah, mm-hmm. That's all I gotta say. Cause like that needs to be underlined, bolded, italicized, capitalized, yes. Everything. Okay.
Reposted,
like no more shame stuff.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Perfect. Anything else you want to share?
I think it reiterates that point, right? It's not your fault that. And, sometimes I think we go to who we think we trust the most, and that, that tends to be our family members, that tends to be, our life partners. And while they may be supportive in other areas, they might not understand the true feelings that you're feeling. So you might be looking for a form of validation from them that they can't necessarily provide because they don't understand it. And so it's not because they don't care, but ironically, like chances are part of the reason why, right, the makeup of where you are and the pattern of thinking is because of your upbringing, and because they're the ones who created that environment for you in the first place. So then it starts to almost feel like a blame game, and you're pointing fingers. So it's almost better to seek that unbiased professional support, even though other people around you say, "Oh, you're fine." Like everybody reacts that way, and while that may be true, right? You want to be better, and you want to heal, and it's not only healing you and your children, but the generations to follow and the generations before, right? That's all that ancestral trauma that we talk about. So do it for you and do it for future generations. Do it because it's what helps you feel lighter at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I love what you said. Like, yes, it depends on who you surround yourself with, because that's why I caution people about, complaining about their husband, because it really depends on the company you keep, right? Are they people who actually care to do the work? Or are they just like bitching about their marriage and it's just a thing to do? It's like a hobby almost because it's like fun. It's something to relate to other people with. And yes, it's normal, but normal doesn't mean it's healthy, right?
Right.
And so expanding your horizons, inviting other perspectives, working with professionals, and really seeking out growth is going to be so supportive of you. And you know, one thing I realized looking back, because I totally did like blame my parents at one point, like, oh my gosh, you totally fucked me up. Like, you made me this way, blah, 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 right? You turned, whatever. And ever since like diving into the personal development journey that I've been on for the last several years, I recognize that when I'm angry, it's because I care about my kids. It's just not coming out as if I care. But the root of it is I don't want something to happen to them, or I want to keep them safe, or I'm projecting into their future and it's my anxiety talking, you know, like, oh my gosh, what if they're still like this? They're never going to have any friends. They're never going to get a job. They're going to be like, whatever, right? They're not going to be able to take care of themselves. And it comes out as like, how dare you do that? Right? Like, right. How could you do that? Like, that's so thoughtless, or, you know, whatever. I might not say those things, but like it comes out as anger.
Right.
And so if you're in that space where you're like, my parents totally screwed me up, they likely are saying the things that they're saying because they care about you having a bright future. But bright future to them might not be the same bright future to you, right? They have very different definitions of what that might look like because of how they grew up. So as you can see, it's like layered, right? There's just so much that gets passed on. So I'm really glad that you touched on that, because how we were brought up and how our family cultures are, even our like ethnic cultures, everything heavily influences so much.
It definitely plays a part. Yeah. And it's about, you know, even I feel like almost every child, right? Because no childhood is perfect. Like perfect is not a word, right? It's not actually a true thing. And so I feel like almost every child is like, well, I'm not going to do what my parents did. And not that we try and do total opposite, but you try and shift and change something that you did not like about your childhood upbringing as you're raising children. And so your parents did most likely do that when they were raising you, right? Yeah. And so it's like, you still have things you didn't like about that, right? So it's kind of like, it's almost inevitable, but it doesn't mean that we give up at trying. Right? It doesn't mean that we stop that growth process for us because like, well, you know, all of our kids will think that we didn't raise them perfectly. So why put in effort, right? It is what it is. Or that's how that's just the way it goes. No, that doesn't have to be the case. So.
No, you get to feel proud of how you're being. And this is where being intentional comes into play, really challenging. Like, why do I do that? Is that actually aligned with how I want to see myself as a mom, as a woman, as a wife? And then make decisions from that place with your spouse so that it could be, you know, you can have a united vision of how you want to create this life together, the family dynamics that you want to have, instead of being pure reaction to how you were raised and how your husband was raised and you know, just life and society and how it's responding to you. What if instead you just said, fuck it, I'm going to do what's right for us as a family unit because it's our life, right? It's our life.
And that's why the workbook is so great, because not only does it give you practical exercises to try, but it has a lot of those prompts. It has a lot of those, they're called debrief and ponders, to really reflect and do that inner work that gets you to just stop and ask yourself why, right? And why from a place of self-compassion and curiosity, right? As opposed to why in a judgmental space.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is such a powerful word that I often use with my clients. Like, just ask yourself why. Self-inquiry is so, so powerful if you take the time to do it, because if you don't, you're just going to keep repeating what you do because you're on autopilot anyway. It's so easy to be on autopilot as a parent. So just getting down to like doing like root cause analysis, like, why am I pissed right now? Oh, because this happened. Okay, why does it upset me so much? More than anything else? Or why does it upset me more today than other days? You know, like keep digging, because that level of self intimacy is what's going to create deeper relationships with your child, with your spouse, like with yourself, with everybody. But when you are clueless about why you're upset, nothing will help you. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, get the workbook anyway.
We'll drop the link.
Yes, the link is in the show notes. Go grab it now. All right. So, Lena, I've loved this conversation so much. We could go on forever, I'm sure. But I heard you have a program coming out. Can you let us in on the deets?
Yes. So that program is called Banish Burnout. It's all about helping you move from that overwhelm and really having a place to understand the difference between burnout and stress, and learning how to identify and express your needs, and really having that accountability to show up for yourself without feeling guilty, right? We break down going from taking care of yourself on a yearly scale to a monthly scale to a weekly scale to down to the daily scale, right? And so really being able to, again, so that we're not feeling burnt out. Yes, we'll have stress no matter what. So that right now, I'm hoping to do kind of a live rollout of it, but in the future, I do see it as being a pre-recorded thing where there's just monthly Q&As, and of course, access in different varieties. But right now, I'm launching the framework for it and the groundwork. So that will be a live 8-week container of the coaching. So it'll move fast paced, but you'll have lifetime access to that. You'll have lifetime access to even the monthly Q&As to really be able to hone in on the work, because we know the journey is a process, right? It's an up and down process. And so it's always really, you can always come back to it when you continue to do that deeper self-inquiry. So Banish Burnout, if you want to check it out, I would love to have any and all of your listeners interested, and I'm happy to answer any questions they may have.
Amazing. When does it start?
It starts the third week of September. So I believe that's Amazing. A Wednesday. Yeah. The 26th, I believe. The 21st. Yep.
Perfect. 21st. Okay. So if you are experiencing burnout every single day and you have no idea how to support yourself and you just feel like this is normal and you're just on high stress, adrenaline all day long, go, 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 go. Even sleeping isn't enough rest for you. Go check it out. Okay. At the least, go follow Lena, go check her out, learn more from her to see if this is a program for you. Go talk to her. She's amazing. I'm sure she's going to be very, honest about whether it's the right fit for you. And yeah, amazing. Okay. So this is the fun part. Well, actually, before I get to that, how can people connect with you?
Instagram is probably going to be the fastest way that you connect with me, and that's just my full name, Lena Suarez-Angelino. You can feel free to send me an email, really anywhere. I'm on Facebook. I'm everywhere and anywhere. You Google my name, and I feel like I dominate that corner of the internet. So I'm happy to answer. Really, I'm super approachable, so I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has, if it's about therapy, if it's about burnout, if it's, just where can I find resources in my area, I'm happy to help. So, but Instagram would probably be your fastest way to get me.
Awesome. Okay, now for the fun part. I almost got ahead of myself. So I love to ask my guests get to know you questions. Mm-hmm. So if you're ready, I would love to have our listeners get to know you better.
Yeah.
Okay. What's a food you can eat every day and never get sick of?
So my answer normally would have been crab until like 2 birthdays ago, where I had an abundance of crab that then just felt sick. So I think there's a limitation to crab now. I would probably say wings. I could eat wings like
Me too, girl.
anytime, all the time, like all the flavors, any style really. So
Yeah.
wings is my answer.
This is why you are my friend.
And if it comes down to like flats, and I don't even know what the other ones are called, drums or whatever, flats. I'm a flats girl all the way.
Yeah.
I'll eat the other ones too, but like flats have a special place in my heart.
Yes, definitely. Where is your favorite place to vacation?
So far, it's been Costa Rica. I've been twice and actually going a third time. One time, they've all been for healing and helping purposes, but it's such a beautiful healing place in its natural environment and in its natural state that you can't not feel good there. So Costa Rica.
I have never been there. I need to go. I actually have a friend who's from there, so I could probably have her go with
Right?
us. If you're listening, Wendy, hello, I'm talking about you.
Wendy, I'm coming. Okay. I'm on my way. But it's the best because then you get the cultural immersion and you don't get the touristy side. And that's a big piece as to why I've liked going on, like I've done a volunteer trip. And so I stayed 3 weeks. I did a therapist retreat for therapists to heal and grow. And that was, a week long, and that was beautiful on another side of Costa Rica from the previous trip. So it's just really great to see that. And the trip that I'm attending next is also a therapist summit. So it's just a nice excuse to get out.
Yeah, of course. Vacation and professional development all in one. I'm here for it.
Sign me up.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing to do for self-care?
I've recently, and with Michelle's help, this has been helping me, is just falling back in love with my breath and just remembering to take time for the breath, because it's so easy and it's so powerful, right? It's something that happens so naturally on, autopilot, but to consciously take that breath, that's self-care, right? Because it keeps you from bubbling over. And I think it's just so powerful, and it's accessible to everyone, right?
It is. It is. For those who are new to me, I am a breathwork facilitator as well as a life and marriage coach for moms and a human design reader. I just love to do a bunch of stuff. But
Me too, but that's also part of the human design.
Being a manifesting generator, exactly. That is our thing.
It's all interconnected. It's fine. And I can say I have a hobby now. I feel like before, college doesn't really give you time for a hobby because you're, working and schooling. And then the new stages of motherhood and career, there's really not time. The hobby is keeping a newborn alive. But now I've fallen in love with paddleboarding, and that still comes back to a mind-body connection.
Yes.
I've also tried that for the first time in Costa Rica. So, right, Costa Rica comes back to my heart. But it really creates that mind-body connection of just being still, being one with the water. And so that's been something that also I've been trying, because we have the full seasons here. I don't have a full, long stretch of time. So I've been trying to do that for self-care as well, especially while the weather's warm.
I love that so much. Many years ago, I did yoga on the paddleboard. That is a whole different challenge.
That is so cool. I know. I'm like, I can do child's pose and,
I don't know how I didn't fall in, but I managed to not fall in ever.
That is impressive, because getting back on the board is definitely the biggest challenge for me. So, and which I have not worked my way up to yet. So that's okay. Things to look forward to.
Yeah. What's something you said you'd never do when you became a mom, but that you now do?
Ooh, it's hard, because the childhood, or like the motherhood that I'm experiencing, didn't account for a child that had, cognitive delays and developmental delays. So I think there's a lot more leniency that's happening. Probably as much screen time as he gets is probably the thing that I was like, no, like I'll interact with him more, or, and I do interact with him, but, the TV definitely is a big, time crunch saver and patience provider at times. So I think that's probably the biggest thing where I was like, no, I wasn't super against screen time, but like as much as he's actually getting, I would probably have imagined myself cutting that probably in half, if not more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I could totally relate to that, especially like as you have more kids, it's just like, you know what? My mental health is way more important than my stance on screen time. Here you go. I need a break.
Exactly. And it's learning to balance that, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. Last question. What's something you're really looking forward to?
I think I'm looking forward to the rest of the year and spending the holidays with family, aside from my program launching and but I think I'm looking forward to the recap of the year. So much has happened in my business. So much has happened for our family. And so just really being able to soak all of that in. We've been able to travel a lot more this year. And so really being able to soak all of that in and plan for next year, right? So it's kind of like that. So really understanding that we can have it all and we can, do everything that we want to do and set our minds to. So really being able to reflect on the year that we had.
Yeah, it sounds like you have plenty to be grateful for, and that is amazing. All right. Thank you so, so much for being on this show. I loved talking about all of this with you because this is so, so relevant in every single mother's life. And seriously, I know I keep saying this in this episode, but go check out her workbook. Okay.
It's beautiful. I promise.
It is beautiful. That is like the first thing I thought of when I first saw the cover, when you shared it on Facebook. I was like, oh my gosh, that looks amazing.
Yeah, definitely thanking my publisher and design team for that.
Yeah, they did great. But yeah, go connect with Lena if you want to learn more about how to support yourself, because you do deserve a better experience in motherhood if you're experiencing a lot of burnout and overwhelm. Okay. Thank you so much, Lena, for being here. It's been a pleasure. And I will talk to you all next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. I hope that this episode helped you deepen your relationship with your husband and, more importantly, with yourself. If you know someone that this episode would help, please share it. All right, see you back here next week. Bye.